Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP. Nick is here in attendance with me once more because today we're going to be going through our review of Friday Night SmackDown from this past Friday. This will be the 19th of September edition. So let's get straight up into all the action that took place across the course of the night and discuss everything that went down. So, first and foremost, we would kick off the show, and Michael Cole on commentary would say that he needed to do like an interview type thing later on in the night, but apparently it's going to happen straight away. Cole would sort of get out of his seat and he'd walk over, like going up towards the ramp, and then suddenly, man in question that he was meant to be interviewing would come on down and be very, very aggressive. He would be very assertive, and Corey Graves, he would sort of like come up to help out Michael Cole, basically try and protect him, so to speak. And Corey would basically take a bullet for Michael Cole in this particular segment, and he would get absolutely laid to waste by this insane human being that, is just just ridiculous, basically. So yeah, that would be a pretty wild opening to the start of the night. Michael Cole obviously not in a very good place, and Corey Graves not being able to continue on commentary. He was taken to the back, and we didn't see him after that for the rest of the show. So Michael Cole, he would be joined on commentary at some point later on in the night by none other than The Miz. So that was interesting. Certainly a unique combo. I feel like we've had Miz on commentary before, but I don't know if I'm making that up. But either way, regardless, that'll be the commentary team for the rest of the night after that heinous assault on Corey Graves to start off the show. We go into our first match afterwards, which would be for the Women's Tag Team Championships. This would see Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair put their gold on the line against the Secret Her versus Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. So with Piper Niven out, this sort of like different style tag team, I suppose, Chelsea Green popping in to the tag team side of things here. It would be a decent match. It would be fine. Like, it wouldn't be something that would sort of like set the world alight, but it'll get the show started. And we get into the action, coming from this right here. And honestly, it was quite routine, I think. It was a little bit back and forth in parts, for sure. And it didn't take too long for Charlotte and Alexa to really wrap this up. They would get the victory in the end and walk out as still the WWE Women's Tag Team champions. Didn't expect a change of titles here. It would have been quite the shock if there was one. I think, Secret Harvest, who happened, but pretty well recently, and you'd have been sort of like pushed up a little bit more than we had seen prior to that. Obviously now take another setback, so it'll be interesting to see how they sort of respond from this. But Charlotte and Alexa, they look pretty dominant right now, and that they're having a great time with those championships. Honestly, they're getting featured most weeks, so no complaints really. Did what it needs to be done, and showcasing the tag team title match, which is always good to see. Speaking of tag teams, we would then go into our next segment, which would see Fraxium making their entrance. So Axiom and Nathan Fraser, they would be making their entrance for what would assumingly be a match coming up, in moments for them. And Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, Paul Heyman, they would just appear just sort of seemingly out of nowhere and would absolutely destroy Fraxium. They would take them out, leave them at ringside. And Heyman, he would get into the ring. This is a returning Paul Heyman. He would get back. Well, he would get into the ring and he would grab a microphone, basically comparing Fraxium to that of the Usos. They're currently down and on their backs. But it wouldn't take too long for Fraxium to really get back into the swing of things here. They would bring the fight back to Bron Breakker and to Bronson Reed, as Heyman was about to deliver a spoiler for WrestlePalooza, in obviously way of their match. But then Nick Aldis, the general manager of SmackDown, he would come on down to, off the stage, and he would basically announce a match between The Vision and Fraxium right there, right then. So that would obviously lead directly into the contest, which would see The Vision's Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed defeat Fraxium in the end. This is quite a high-paced match. It's always going to be when you've got, people like Bron Breakker, Axiom, Nathan Fraser. There's a lot of speed there. Maybe Bronson Reed, the only real, exception to that, but he just fits the bill really nicely with Bron Breakker. It's a really, really good tag team. I really do like these guys when they do get into the ring together and compete alongside each other. But this was a fun matchup. It did what it needed to do, I think. To sort of like build some momentum for the Vision going into WrestlePalooza, keeping them, looking very, very strong, and just I guess I suppose it really showcased what Fraxium can kind of do as well in parts. It wasn't the longest match, the division handled it relatively quickly, but they got some offense in whilst they could, and yeah, they looked to be pretty decent. But yeah, Vision with the win, as you'd expect. So that would then provoke Paul Heyman to get back into the ring and continue where he left off before the re-emergence of Fraxium. And he would basically go on to say more about this, this spoiler that he was going to say for WrestlePalooza. But once again, he's interrupted, but this time by the Usos on the Tron. They basically just say that, the Vision will be getting the best of the Usos at WrestlePalooza, because, they're the twos and we're the ones. So classic Uso stuff there from those two, going back to, the height of their glory days, really, as a tag team together. We then go into our next segment of the night, which would see Nia Jax going into the ring. And she'd cut a promo, basically saying how she's fed up of the other women in the division calling themselves the alpha woman, when, she knows herself that she, in fact, is the alpha woman of WWE. She basically turns her attention to Tiffany Stratton, calling her annoying, saying that she's the reason that Tiff wasn't even on NXT this week, which she was meant to be, because she took her out last week on SmackDown. Jax then focuses on Jade Cargill, saying, she's impressive, sure, but when it comes to training in-ring skills with somebody, she should probably consider her, because after all, she probably needs to do so. So, taking some digs there at both women. Tiff comes out shortly afterwards, basically saying how she's the WWE Women's Champion, and there's nothing that can be done about that. She attempts to go towards Nia Jax to actually get into the ring with her, but there are loads of officials around, and they basically just stop her from getting anywhere near Jax. Then we get Jade Cargill. She comes down and she storms to the ring, pardon the pun, and starts taking out the officials as she's going down towards it. She gets up to the apron. That's as far as she gets, and then she's dragged down. And then we get Nick Aldis come on down to announce a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship next week on Friday Night SmackDown. So, highlighting a big match for next week. That seems quite interesting. Looking forward to seeing who comes out on top on that one. But yeah, this is just a nice little segment just to piece that situation together. And obviously that'll be taking place next week. So yeah, Nick, what do you make of our first half of SmackDown then? A couple of tag team situations here between the Women's Tag Team Champions, obviously the Vision and Fraxium. And then obviously we got that huge situation, for next week. Looks like a pretty good match on paper. Hopefully it will be as well. What do you make of our start of the SmackDown?
Yeah, definitely not the first time we've seen Michael Cole have someone stick up for him. I think just another kind of showing of how important Michael Cole is to the WWE and to the commentator teams specifically. But I think some people might forget that Corey Graves used to wrestle, and he sold beautifully here, and Cole did as well from an emotional standpoint, kind of showing how distraught he was after being manhandled, and then to have Corey Graves have happened what he had happened to him. Yeah, I think that was a great, effective way to kick off the show, and curious to see if we'll make any other stories of that going forward, or maybe giving Graves some more time off. We'll have to see. But interesting segments to start SmackDown here. The tag team match. Yeah, this one didn't quite do it for me. I think when you cut to commercial almost immediately during the match, it's hard to get invested, and then you come back. There wasn't a ton after that. I think the outcome was probably always going to be what it was, and then a natural selection being all it took to win the match. For whatever reason, this match didn't get a ton of time, and maybe this just comes back to the glaring issues we've been highlighting for what feels like a month or so, maybe two now. That the time just causes restraints, and I think maybe this match was the one that really got it. Which in the grand scheme of things, getting ahead of myself here, but considering how many vignettes we had, or re-showing of the packages we've already seen, and showing the people over in the States how to use the ESPN app, maybe could have been rearranged a bit, but won't get into that anymore here. But yeah, it was a fine bout, I guess. Just would have liked some more time, because Secret Harvest had been doing pretty well for themselves. So, anyways, moving on to the next match, next match ended up being with Fraxium coming down to the ring, getting taken out by the Visions, Braun and Bronson. All just coming down to set up the match. yeah, the ending was, or the result was never in question. But yeah, I think setting up the visions, Braun and Bronson, another, not really that they needed it, but one more kind of feather in their cap, if you will, taking out Fraxton, who at one time was very, very dominant. But always an impressive a team in the ring, and the ending here was pretty unique as well, with Axiom getting jumped, tossed off the ropes by Bronson and then getting speared by Braun. That was a pretty cool bit. And then Bronson jumping off for the tsunami. So as dominant as ever, but again, no surprise there. The only other women's mention for the evening here, Stratton comes out to save a pretty basic promo from Nia, calling herself the alpha female. Jade comes in, and even though Tiffany was kind of just insulting Jade, Jade felt more important to go after Nia. But before that brawling ensues, all this, as you mentioned, sets up that match for next week. So this whole thing's been weird. You kind of hit it last week too. Like, why is Nia back in the picture? Unless it's to take a pin. And, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But feels like we've been, we've done this dance before a couple times now. So yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to that match. We'll see if we get a clean one. But yeah, it feels like we've kind of been there, done that. So yeah, it's an interesting first half SmackDown. Definitely not anything groundbreaking for me.
We have been there a few times already, and this seems to be the latest iteration of that story with Nia. It just always seems to be, factory reset, get Nia back in, and then whack somebody else in afterwards, just go from there. But yeah, I think, moving on from our first half of SmackDown going into the second half, we can talk about a match that was pretty damn good. I think it's fair to say. We had the United States Championship being defended by Sami Zayn. He would put it on the line against Carmelo Hayes. This was an agreement that sort of went back to last week, just after Sami had retained against Rey Fenix, and what was a really good match as well. So yeah, Carmelo and the Miz having a little bit of a sort of like disagreement of where their focus lies in terms of title opportunities. Miz wanted to go after the tag titles. Melo wanted to go after the United States Championship. So Melo would get his chance. He'd get his opportunity. Sami would accept it, and here we are on this episode of SmackDown. This was a pretty fun match, to be fair. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm always going to, but I think when you give the guys the time that they had, probably was about, I want to say, probably shy of around 15 minutes or so overall, with a couple of ad breaks in between. So yeah, it was a good back and forth matchup here. I think both Carmelo and Sami really had a lot of time to shine. They just basically managed to showcase what they were capable of in the ring, and yeah, I think the right result in the end. I think you probably wouldn't expect Sami to lose the championship so soon into his reign. Especially when you got these really fun open challenges, sort of like builds up opportunities for people who might not normally get them. So I think they can sort of like let this roll for a little while longer, and a fair bit yet. So yeah, expect a result in my eyes, and probably the right call as well. But yeah, Sami winning by the Blue Thunder Bomb, quite interesting as well. We normally see him win by the Hurluva Kick. So when he does win by the Blue Thunder Bomb or something a little different, it obviously is a little bit of a unique way of doing things. So I think I can really only count like 2 or 3 occasions in the past where Sami's won matches via the Blue Thunder Bomb. So I'm not entirely sure what that means in terms of this whole situation, but yeah, it's quite interesting that it did go down like a slightly different route to normal. But yeah, really fun match. Thought it was a great contest between both men, and easily by far the match of the night. You got obviously the 2 tag team matches, which one of them was pretty decent, to be fair, but they're both pretty short in comparison to this one. This one had a lot more time and a lot of quality throughout as well from both men. So yeah, really enjoyed it. It was a great contest. Then we go into our last segment of the night, which would be a contract signing between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes. And this will be setting up their match for WrestlePalooza, for the WWE Undisputed Championship. Yeah, this basically went as you'd expect. Contract signings. There seems to be a checklist. Checklist 1. Well, check marker 1. Both men get to say what they want to say. Check marker number 2. They fight. That seems to be how these always go, right? And this was no different from any other one that we've ever seen in the past. Cody would remind Drew that, in this same building 15 years ago, they won the tag team championship together. But no one's really talking about that, though. He would say how Drew is the Scottish warrior, and in the past he's achieved all sorts of things. You know, he would list his accolades through quite a lot of them. But now he's just a keyboard warrior. So, you know, something very different. We know how good Drew is on social media, and he tends to sort of really dig down deep into that, and he's always a menace on there. So Cody obviously very aware of that. He challenges Drew to, you know, just get your phone out and, you know, just craft a tweet. Drew does. He literally says, "Thank you, Cody." And sort of Cody looks very confused by that, doesn't entirely know what to make of it. Drew goes on to explain that all he ever wanted is a one-on-one match for the WWE Championship with no interference, no BS, no nothing else, just so that he can just, you know, prove that he is the guy. And he knows that Cody's exactly the kind of person that's going to make that happen because he's the ultimate company guy. Drew warns Cody that people cheer for him now, but eventually they will turn on him like they do with everybody else. Like, that just is how it goes. Cody signs the contract in the end. Before then, Drew attacks him. The two start to brawl on the outside. Drew, he gets a chance to Claymore Cody, very similar to how he did, you know, a few weeks ago, taking him out for a number of weeks through the announce table. But he decides not to, knowing that, you know, if he does, the match probably wouldn't take place the following night at WrestlePalooza. So he thinks, okay, I'm not going to bother. I'm just gonna, you know, throw him onto the announce table instead, which he would do, and then he would try to walk away. As he was doing so, Cody was sort of like jump through the ropes, you know, bottom of the ramp where Drew was at the time, and they would continue a brawl, and that would be where Drew basically ends up taking Cody out, and that would be the end of the show right there. So Drew stands tall at the end of SmackDown, you know, over the WWE champion. So yeah, not the most things to talk about here. Just a couple of segments here between obviously that United States Championship Open Challenge matchup and then the contract signing for the WWE Undisputed Championship match at WrestlePalooza. What did you make of our final two segments here? That match was pretty damn good, and yeah, well, how hyped are you for that match between Drew and Cody?
It was by far the best match of the night, which wasn't saying a ton, but yeah, Carmelo and Sami Zayn, you know, I feel like I'm broken record with this US challenge already. You bring two competitors like this in the ring, that of Carmelo and Sami, of course you're going to have a great match. As the crowd alluded to, you know, this is awesome. Absolutely. That 2 count after the first 48, you had me. You know, 99% sure it wasn't going to be, but for a split second, you got me there. That was a very close count, and I think Sammy, of course, as he always does a great job of building up his competitor here, and Carmelo obviously returning the favor. Um, I don't say this a ton, but I do feel like I just imagining these two going for like a best of seven, like maybe towards the end, maybe they run it back, Sammy's reign to get Carmelo his first singles gold on the main roster. Yeah, I like the sound of that. But then, yeah, and then not only that, Sami Zayn getting victory with his Blue Thunder Bomb, who, you know, I think I made it clear, maybe not on stream as much, but definitely to you, KP, that the Blue Thunder Bomb is massively underrated and making that a legitimate move to actually finish a match. Checked all the boxes for me. Like I said, two of the most consistent performers in the WWE. No surprise, but this was definitely the highlight of the night, and looking forward to that next challenge for Sami Zayn. The contract signing, the one check you did forget, KP. A table must be flipped or broken. So we got that one checked off as well. But yes, nothing groundbreaking here by any means. Obviously, setting up that going through the announce table spot once again. So clearly, that's going to come into play. You know, we'll see. We'll see. It feels like Drew, especially, is very much holding back here. So, kind of as we hit on the predictions video for WrestlePalooza, I think this is just the first chapter of this book. So we'll have to wait and see what actually happens at WrestlePalooza. But it feels like definitely everything's being held back. Everything's being we're not, you know, bringing out all the big stops quite yet, because that's further down the line. So that's kind of what I feel like here. But yeah, pretty standard stuff here. Drew running down Cody as a corporate man, which Drew said he used to be. I thought that was an interesting bit as well. I'm sure we'll hit more on that later. And yeah, thank you, Cody. So definitely a different very tame bit set up here. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what comes of this tomorrow at WrestlePalooza. But yeah, for SmackDown, this was very, very much a go home show. You take out that Sammy and Carmelo bit. I would argue you don't have much of anything that's really memorable here. Um, yeah, and the women, continuing to get the shit end of the stick, if you will. And very little of the tag division mentioned. I know we hit on that last week. Outside of the Street Profits and the Wyatt Six members, got a little bit of that, but a backstage segment, which is kind of what the women were getting, in weeks before that. So definitely a go home show here. Would have liked a little less vignettes and packages on from ESPN and ones we've already seen as well. So yeah, not ideal for me. I'm gonna give this one a 5.5 out of 10. Yeah, that's all I got. Pretty downer episode for me.
I mean, hey, I get it. There isn't really a lot to talk about. In terms of number of segments, again, quite limited. I think we always mention the fact that we went from 3 hours to 2 hours, and so much has been cut. You see very little now on an episode of Friday Night SmackDown. The quality is just it suffers as well because of that. So yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for this United States Championship match, then what would we actually really be sort of like happy to speak about and to discuss in a little bit of detail. So yeah, it's quite crazy, really. I don't know how they're ever going to get out of this rut, but if they don't go back to 3 hours, that's seemingly the only way to fix it in my eyes. But I don't know, maybe they can do something different. But yeah, for now, it's a rough patch. It has been for a while. Probably will be for a while as well. I gave it a 6 out of 10, so only really just a little above where you were. But yeah, I completely get it. It's it's tough. It's tough at the moment for sure. So that is our SmackDown recap for this past week, everybody. So thank you very much for tuning into the push with Nick and KP. If you liked what we did here today, then please hit a like on the video and subscribe to our channel to keep up with future releases coming up very, very soon. And also let us know in the comments what you think, whether it's good, bad, whatever. We'd love to hear anything that you guys are thinking. But for now, this has been The Push, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy, and goodbye for now.